Hello, this is an example of a competency-based approach model of a daily lesson plan for Form 5 Computer Science. As you can see, this is the presentation. In the presentation, you have the preamble. The first part is the preamble, where you have teacher's name, name of school, date, the class average age, the duration, the topic, the lesson, the enrollment, the time, and the subject. You also have you have references, the books that you consulted in coming out with the content. Now, having presented this, the next thing is to look at the tabular form, which is presented here, as you can see. Here you have stages, components, objective, learning material, teachers activities, learners activities, evaluation, and duration. Unlike in the common model of lesson plan, this one has more components added, more components. Its components have been broken down into, so for example, in the introductory part, in the introduction, you have warm-up, wherein you are presenting what will start the lesson of the day, that's to arouse interest of the learners. You have revision, that is, you are connecting the previous lesson to the present one. You have presentation, you announce the topic of the day. It's here that you announce the topic of the today. We'll be teaching, we'll be doing this and this and this and this. You have exploitation of didactic situation. Now you write out the various things that will be you're like presenting a roadmap of what you're teaching on that day, and you now state the lesson objectives. Why are you teaching the lesson, or what will the learners be able to accomplish at the end of the lesson. Take note that within the table you already have objectives, and within these objectives you have other things which have been interwoven. So it's kind of complex, but it's easy. As you keep doing it, you get used to it. Here you have objectives already, unlike other lesson plans where you have objectives as stated at the level of the preamble. Okay, that said, no, objectives has its part, but here each component you have to state objectives. I don't know how that's possible, but it's okay. So and you have statement here, you have statement of objectives. It is here that you can blow out the objectives. I will say what the learners will be doing, what the teacher will be doing, the evaluation, and the time given for that. So talking about timing, we have given 50 minutes. 50 minutes was allocated for the lesson, therefore it could be broken down into 10, 30, 10. 10 for introduction, 30 for the synthesization of learning, and then you have 10 for closing of the lesson. Now that's it. So that's how it is presented. Now let's go to the second part, which is the synthesization of learning. Here you have guided practice. You give opportunities for learners to try out something. After modeling, you model, that is, you produce a sample. You first of all model. After modeling, this is modeling, you give guided practice, that is situation for learners to try out what they have done. So if it was mathematics, you give an exercise, and then you give an example on the board, and then you present an exercise for them to solve. You go around and check. Okay, next you have recapitulation. You see whether they can recall what has studied. You now you try this at their own time, and then you guide them through. You have autonomous practice, that is, you have them work as individual. Now you can work as individual, and then you can equally assign them to take the work as a group, as an assignment, or take home work. Remember that assignment is what is done at the end of the class, before the beginning of the next class. So an assignment is what is done, what students do at the end of a lesson before the next lesson, or what is done at that time is an assignment. It could be take home, or within the class, or within the school. Okay, as the case may be. Now you have closing of lesson. This is in the traditional lesson plan, we'll call this conclusion. But here we have closing of lesson. Under that you have components like review of the next lesson. You are You are making a signpost. You are telling them what they are supposed to be expected in the next lesson. So now you have synthesization, systematic revision before the next lesson. So it's here that you are presenting your revision. You consolidate. Here you appreciate the importance of the present lesson to the future. You're trying to make a link to between the two lessons, this and the next lesson, so that you give students opportunity to be able to read after the lesson. You have integration activities for reinforcement exercises. That is, you distinguish between the correct and incorrect answers to the revision questions. You're trying to be clear about what the students know and what they don't know. You make that very clear. Correction and eventual repudiation. That is, you follow up slow learners and provide them enough work to do so that they can catch up. Why those who have mastery, you give them remedial lessons to follow up so that they may not feel bad or lost out within the class. So that's that. I think the other thing that you may want to look at within this lesson plan, it's learners activity. Given that we are striving more today, teaching is looking more on learning than in teaching. Teaching emphasize more on learning than teaching. Therefore, while you're doing this, you lay emphasis on what the students will be doing. So you want to say what the students will be learning. You want to involve the students more so that the lesson will be more interactive and will be meaningful to this learner. It can lead to critical thinking to the learners. And that said, don't also forget to say what the teacher will be doing, because remember that a lesson plan is a guide to teaching. It's a guide to teaching, and a good lesson plan already may lead to a successful lesson or a good lesson. And take note again that a good lesson plan, a lesson plan well drawn, can help the teacher. Even if it's not there, a colleague can pick it up, or any teacher can pick it up and teach, and the lesson will be very effective. Talking about learning materials, you want to find out what will you bring to class. So you want to already guide yourself about the things that you need to teach the lesson and to make the lesson meaningful. So within this lesson, we have stuff like we have many examples of algorithms. We have the computer lab. We have a computer softwares like Pascal programming. You have to prepare ahead of time so that you don't get lost at the middle when you need something and you don't have it. So if it was an experiment, you need the tools that you need, equipment that you need for the experiment. You have to plan that before the class. That's why lesson plans are very important. Know that teaching is before, during, and after. So this is before. This is what you do. On evaluation, I think evaluation here was placed so that at each stage you have question answers, you have evaluation questions. You will want to put them. If you have to ask questions, you have to put them. Yeah, I think this is a flaw in this one that I did, because it's very empty, but it's challenging though. So but here you have revision, which means that the teacher is aware that at certain level you have to do revision. Okay, now the last is the time. And time, since this is a 50 minutes lesson, the time was broken down into 10, 30, 10. So fellow mates, I think this is all what I can say about a competency based approach model of lesson plan. If you did enjoy it, please why don't you let me know where I went wrong, so that we can all make things better. Thank you very much. This is Dan Gilbert Farinkia.